In a world where progress never sleeps, one company stands out as the driving force behind infrastructure and energy solutions. Introducing our fuel company and cement producer, where excellence meets efficiency. Jawo. The company have 30 filling stations across the country that are all operating, which includes the recently completed Yarambamba and Old Yundum filling stations. And our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Along the years, Jawo introduces importation and distribution of cement in their line of business to diversify and strengthen their operations. Are you a cement retailer? At the moment, Jawo is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market. With a focus on sustainability and innovation, we are paving the way for a greener, stronger future. Trust in us to fuel your projects and lay the groundwork for success. We currently produce over 25,200,000 bags per year. As the largest cement producer in the country, Jawo also targets to export cement to the neighboring countries like Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, and others. Join us on our journey to shape a world where every drop of fuel and every bag of cement makes a difference. Together, we can build a brighter tomorrow.
It's Wednesday, the 19th of February 2025. It's Coffee Time with Peter Gomez live on West Coast Radio. On YouTube, we are sponsored by Jawo. Now, convinced that a modest yet meaningful celebration can be held without placing further strain on the national budget, Ghana announced less than a week ago a scaling down of this year's Independence Day celebration. This as the Gambia was launching activities to mark its own Independence Day festivities, the 60th in the series. In the run-up to the event, local newspapers published reports highlighting public concern about the alleged budget, which is put at between $100 and $150 million at a time when the country is grappling with cost of living challenges. Now, such opportunities are always seized upon by Alagie Barrow to remind the authorities in Banjul of their responsibility to an increasingly impoverished nation.
As we get ready to blow what some say amounts to $150 million on another so-called independence celebration, while our Justice Minister tells us we need $60 million to prosecute security officers complicit in the APRC government abuse, while the same government remains married to the same APRC, or while media outlets report that there are no operational MRI or CT scans at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, I cannot help but wonder how Edward Francis Small, and indeed all those sons of the land who went to England to negotiate our independence from the abusive British, would feel if they saw the colonial space we call Gambia today. How proud would Edward Francis Small be of us? Would he be proud to see the condition of the hospital named after him? Is this the Gambia this great man envisioned? How proud would Aliu Badaranjai or Famara Wasature be of the Gambia we call home today? As we celebrate another independence by spending over $100 million, I cannot help but wonder if this is the Gambia the Reverend J.C. Faye prayed for. I can't help but wonder whether, given the dire economic conditions of this country, Sheriff Sekouba Cisse would have approved spending $100 million to celebrate our so-called independence. Looking at our country today, do we honestly think that our forefathers would be proud of the Gambia as it is today? Do we believe that this is the Gambia they dreamt of? If you don't think our forefathers would be proud of us, what role do you think you played in that? On the other hand, if you think our forefathers would be proud of the Gambia we call home today, can you tell us why? Any human being who lives up to 60 years and is unable to feed him or herself despite being an able-bodied individual and blessed with resources, cannot claim to be an independent person if this person relies on the largesse of others to keep themselves alive. In the same vein, no group of people can claim to be truly independent when they rely on begging and borrowing for their viability as a country. In this colonial space, they told us should be called Gambia. We simply swapped the British overlords for our own overlords that we see today. These overlords and those eating along with them will be the ones who have zero qualms about spending $100 million just to make themselves feel accomplished. Ask the desperate young men and women they are sending to Spain or Saudi Arabia if they feel independent. Better yet, ask anyone struggling to feed their family or pay their rent if they feel independent. Ask those who cannot fly overseas to seek medical treatment if they are independent. Ask anyone who is not eating on the backs of Gambians or associated with those feeding on the backs of Gambians and see if they feel independent. We have very little to celebrate, but we certainly have a lot to reflect on. Sadly, those eating on the backs of Gambians would rather spend 100 million on celebrations and not a butut on reflections. You know why? Reflecting on our condition means looking in the mirror, and many of us would not want to see the person we have become and the Gambia we have helped create.
And that was Alagie Barrow. Now, for Demba Ali Jawo, the military parade and march past witnessed at the historic McCarthy Square were a case of trying too hard by the organizers, perhaps to justify the whopping event budget Alagie just spoke about there. Well, the result, according to DA, whose piece is read for us by the Standard's Lamin Cham, was a long and tedious event that visibly bored everyone, including the only two of the presidents expected for the celebrations. That's Bassirou Diomaye Faye of Senegal and Umaru Sissoko Embalo of Guinea-Bissau.
Congratulations to President Adama Barrow and his administration for all their efforts in organizing such an elaborate Diamond Jubilee celebrations. However, some people have expressed the feeling that some of the activities were either unnecessary or they could have been differently done. Also, many people are questioning the justification for the huge amount of public funds allocated for all these ceremonies at a time when majority of Gambians are struggling with the basics of life. Others also felt that some of the episodes during the march past ceremonies at the McCarthy Square were not quite appropriate for the occasion. For example, the so-called comedy by Bright Stars, which gave emphasis to ethnicity, should have been avoided because there was hardly anything funny in it. Another part of the ceremony that many people thought unnecessary was the display by the Turkish troupe. Apart from anything else, it was not protocol-wise to allow the Portuguese troupe to carry on with their performance after President Barrow had delivered his speech, because the president's speech was supposed to have been the last item of the ceremony. Indeed, it was also quite evident in their body language that the two chief guests of honor, Presidents Umaru Sissoko Embalo and Diomaye Faye of Guinea-Bissau and Senegal respectively, were bored and quite eager to see the end of the ceremony. Therefore, many people felt that instead of allowing such performance to go ahead, the organizers should have rescheduled it as a separate ceremony later, either at State House or anywhere else, to avoid subjecting these honored guests and other attendees to such a tortuous jamboree. It was quite obvious that with the dusty atmosphere and extreme heat, hardly anyone was enjoying that part of the ceremony.
And that was Lamin Cham with Demba Ali Jawo's thoughts on the military parade and march past marking the Gambia's 60th anniversary of independence. from British colonial rule, which also included a cultural display. Well, for me, the problem continues to be the late start of events involving government officials. They asked people to be seated by 9 a.m., and I was in the square by 8:44 a.m., when a lot of people were already seated. But the program didn't start until a few minutes after 11 a.m. 2 hours is a long time to keep people waiting. And as a respecter of time, this flagrant disregard for time is the main reason I'm not keen on events and activities involving officialdom.
In a world where progress never sleeps, one company stands out as the driving force behind infrastructure and energy solutions. Introducing our fuel company and cement producer, where excellence meets efficiency. Jawo. The company have 30 filling stations across the country that are all operating, which includes the recently completed Yarambamba and Old Yundum filling stations. And our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Along the years, Jawo introduces importation and distribution of cement in their line of business to diversify and strengthen their operations. Are you a cement retailer? At the moment, Jawo is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market. With a focus on sustainability and innovation, we are paving the way for a greener, stronger future. Trust in us to fuel your projects and lay the groundwork for success. We currently produce over 25,200,000 bags per year. As the largest cement producer in the country, Jawo also targets to export cement to the neighboring countries like Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, and others. Join us on our journey to shape a world where every drop of fuel and every bag of cement makes a difference. Together, we can build a brighter tomorrow.